Cold wind raced across the abandoned trading outpost as Jace Rowan, a lone human cargo runner, stopped his rover beside a flickering street lamp. The area was supposed to be empty. No traders, no patrols, no movement. But something felt wrong the moment he stepped out. The air carried a strange silence, like the world was holding its breath. Jace adjusted his jacket and scanned the dark road. Broken signs swung in the wind. Metal shutters banged against old buildings. This place had been shut down for years after a border conflict between alien clans. Humans rarely came here now. But Jace needed a shortcut to reach the western ridge before a solar storm hit. As he walked forward, his boots echoed across the cracked ground. Then, he froze. A soft whimper came from somewhere near the lamp. Not human, not animal. Something between fear and pain. The hairs on his arms rose as he moved closer, one slow step at a time. Under the street lamp, something small was tied to an old warning sign. A shape, a body, a child? No, not human. The creature was curled into a shivering ball, thin arms wrapped around her knees. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly as if lit from inside. She had long white hair tangled with dust and broken leaves. A thin metal chain locked her to the post, digging into her wrists. And hanging on the sign was a piece of dirty cloth with rough handwriting. Take her for a bottle of spice liquor. Jace stared at the words, unable to breathe. Someone had traded her. Someone had left her here like trash. He slowly crouched down, keeping his voice calm. Hey, can you hear me? The girl flinched, pulling back even though she had nowhere to go. Her large violet eyes reflected pure terror, but also something else, exhaustion. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Jace raised both hands to show he meant no harm. It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She only watched him with those shaking eyes. Jace's heart tightened. He had seen bad things across the fringe worlds, slavery, forced labor, abandoned miners, but never a child being traded for alcohol. Whoever did this had no soul left. He examined the chain. Industrial-grade alloy. Not something a child could break. Whoever left her wanted to make sure she couldn't run. Who did this to you? He whispered, even though he knew she couldn't answer. The girl trembled and opened her mouth slightly. A soft, broken sound escaped, a language he didn't understand. It was weak, barely a whisper, like her voice had been crushed long ago. Jace took a deep breath and looked around. If he could find her, others could too. Thieves, raiders, predators, and none of them would show mercy. He made a decision. Okay, I'm getting you out of here. He pulled a multi-tool from his belt and started working on the lock. The girl tried to shrink back, but she was too weak to resist. Jace worked quickly, checking the shadows every few seconds. The outpost felt different now, alive, watching, waiting. Finally, with a loud click, the lock snapped open. The chain fell to the ground. The girl didn't move. She just stared, confused, as if she couldn't understand what freedom meant. Jace gently extended a hand. Come with me. You're safe now. For a long moment, she didn't react. Then her cold fingers slowly reached toward his glove. She touched it like she expected it to disappear. When it didn't, she finally took his hand. The moment her skin touched his, Jace felt something strange, a pulse of warm energy, like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. The girl blinked weakly, almost collapsing. He caught her before she hit the ground and lifted her into his arms. You're all right, he whispered. I've got you. As he carried her back to the rover, the outpost lights flickered violently, as if something deep within the shadows had just awakened. And Jace felt it. This was no ordinary rescue. This was the beginning of something far bigger and far more dangerous. The rover sped across the cracked desert flats, its engines humming as Jace kept glancing at the unconscious alien girl beside him. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin glowed faintly every time she inhaled, like a dying ember trying to stay alive. He had wrapped her in his spare jacket, but she still shivered as if frozen from the inside. Jace drove faster. The sky above them flickered with early signs of the coming solar storm. Purple lightning crawled across the clouds, and the air carried a metallic taste that hinted at radiation. He had maybe 2 hours before the storm made travel impossible. But his mind wasn't on the sky. It was on the small figure curled into the passenger seat. She didn't look dangerous. She didn't even look strong enough to lift her own arms. Yet something about her presence made the air feel heavier, as if she carried more than just fear. As the rover hit a bump, the girl suddenly gasped and jerked awake. Her eyes flew open, bright violet, glowing faintly in the dim cabin. She panicked instantly. Her hands shot up as if to shield herself. She pressed her back against the door, trembling, breaths rapid and shaking. Jace raised both hands defensively. Hey, easy. You're safe. No one's going to hurt you. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her breathing slowed a little, though her eyes remained wide and full of terror. Water, Jace said softly, lifting his canteen. She stared suspiciously, as if she expected it to be a trick. Jace took a sip first to show it was safe. After several seconds, she reached out with shaking hands and took it. She drank greedily, far too fast, and immediately coughed. Slow down, he said, guiding the canteen away. The girl froze again, watching him carefully. There was intelligence in her eyes, but also deep confusion. She wasn't just scared. She was trying to understand him, trying to decode every movement. Like someone who had learned to survive by guessing what others wanted. Jace swallowed the anger rising in his chest. Whoever left her tied to that sign, they didn't just abandon her. They broke her spirit. What's your name? He asked gently. She blinked. Her lips moved, forming a trembling sound. Sal? Sarene. Her voice cracked on the second syllable. Sarene, Jace repeated, nodding slowly. She looked surprised, as if no one had spoken her name kindly in a very long time. Then the rover's scanners beeped loudly. Sarene jumped and curled into a ball, hands over her ears. Jace quickly checked the display, several heat signatures approaching the old outpost they had left. Raiders. Or worse, the traitors who abandoned her. Jace muttered under his breath. They noticed she's gone. He pushed the rover faster. The desert blurred past them in streaks of silver dust. Sarene clung to the seat, watching him with worried eyes. Don't worry, he said. They won't touch you. Not while I'm breathing. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the conviction in his voice. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. Minutes later, the rover entered a narrow canyon. The high stone walls blocked the wind, but amplified every sound. Sarene kept glancing at the cliffs, her glow flickering nervously. Jace noticed. You've been here before, he guessed. She looked away, hugging her knees. The canyon grew darker as they moved deeper. Strange blue moss covered the walls, pulsing faintly like living veins. Sarene stared at it with a mixture of fear and recognition. She whispered something, a word Jace couldn't understand, and touched her chest as if remembering something painful. Before he could ask, her glow suddenly brightened. Whoa, you okay? But her eyes were unfocused. Her hands shook. She whispered again, voice cracking. Jace slowed the rover. Talk to me, Sarene. What's wrong? Then she pointed forward with a trembling finger. At first, he saw nothing. Just rocks. Shadows. Dust. Then the scanner beeped again, this time stronger. Something was blocking the path. Something big. From the darkness ahead, several red lights flickered to life, like eyes opening after a long sleep. Sarene grabbed Jace's arm, terrified. Jace tightened his grip on the steering wheel. All right, he whispered. It looks like whoever left you behind doesn't want to let you go. And in that moment, he realized something. This wasn't just about rescuing a girl. This was about surviving whatever force had marked her, and now marked him too. The canyon grew colder as Jace slowed the rover to a crawl. Sarene clutched his sleeve tightly, her small fingers trembling. Her glow dimmed, almost fading into her skin. Fear drained the color from her eyes. The red lights ahead hovered in the darkness, unmoving, watching. Jace steadied his breath. Stay still, he whispered to her. Sarene nodded, curling closer to him, as if his presence alone was a shield. The lights blinked, 1, 2, 3, like a silent code. Then the figures stepped forward, metal feet crunching over the gravel. They weren't raiders. They weren't smugglers. They were drones, heavy armored, military grade, the kind used for hunting fugitives. Their frames were tall and skeletal, with sharp limbs built for speed rather than combat. Their red sensors glowed like tiny suns. Sarene's entire body locked with horror. Her breath came fast and thin. Jace muttered under his breath. So someone powerful wants you back. The lead drone scanned the rover. A monotone voice echoed through the canyon walls. Return the specimen. Unauthorized extraction detected. Jace stiffened. Specimen. He looked down at Sarene. She shook her head violently, pressing her hands over her ears. Hey, Jace whispered, lifting her chin gently. You're not a specimen. Not to me. Her eyes shimmered with tears, and for a second she looked like a frightened child, helpless, lost, and desperate for someone to believe in her. The drone stepped closer. Final warning. Hand over the asset. Jace tightened his grip on the steering wheel. No. The moment the word left his mouth, all three drones lurched forward. Their engines screamed as they prepared to engage. Jace slammed the rover into reverse. Gravel flew. The rover skidded dangerously close to the canyon wall as he fought to keep it steady. Serene cried out and grabbed his arm. No, no, no. It's okay. Jace shouted over the noise. Hold on. The drones fired grapples, metallic claws that shot through the air like lightning. One barely missed the rover's rear window. Another grazed the roof, ripping a long scar across the metal. Jace swerved sharply, bouncing over jagged rocks. The rover shook violently. Serene's glow flickered with every hit. Then she screamed. Not from fear. From pain. Her chest pulsed with bright silver light, so bright that Jace had to squint. The glow flowed through her arms and fingertips, like energy fighting to escape. Serene, what's happening? He yelled. She shook her head rapidly, tears streaming. Hurts, hurts. The drones paused. Their sensors read her energy spike. Unstable resonance detected. Subject entering phase shift. Jace didn't understand their words, but he understood one thing. Whatever was happening to her could kill her, or everything around her. He had no choice. He slammed the brakes. The rover screeched to a stop. Dust exploded around them. The drones slid on the gravel, adjusting their footing, confused by the sudden halt. Jace jumped out, grabbing Serene in his arms. Her body was shaking violently. Please, she whispered brokenly, clutching his shirt. Don't let them take me. His jaw clenched. They won't. The drones advanced again. Jace backed toward the canyon wall. He had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The storm clouds above crackled with purple lightning, glowing through the narrow opening in the canyon roof. Then Serene's shaking stopped. Her glow stabilized, turned bright, then brighter still. She lifted her head. Her eyes shone like focused stars. The air around her shimmered, warping like heat rising off metal. The drones recognized the change. Warning, resonance overload. Subject cannot be allowed to. But it was too late. A burst of silver light exploded from Serene's body, expanding outward in a silent wave. It washed over the canyon like a living pulse. The ground vibrated. The moss on the rocks glowed white. Dust lifted into the air as if gravity weakened for a moment. The drones' red eyes flickered. Their limbs spasmed. Their systems overloaded with static and failing code. Then, one by one, they collapsed. Metal clanged loudly as their bodies hit the ground, lifeless. The canyon fell silent. Serene slumped forward, unconscious again, her glow fading back to a dim shimmer. Jace caught her before she fell completely. He stared at the wrecked drones. She's not just a girl, he whispered. She's something they fear. He lifted her gently and carried her back to the rover. Whatever was hunting her, whatever she truly was, this was only the beginning. The rover roared across the canyon floor, engines straining under the sudden speed. Jace kept one hand on the wheel and the other wrapped tightly around Serene's trembling body. Her glow was fading again, flickering like a weak lantern fighting against the wind. He pushed the rover harder. Behind them, the destroyed drones lay scattered in the dust. But Jace knew it wouldn't be long before someone else came looking. Whoever sent machines like that didn't stop after one failed attempt. The storm clouds above crackled with violet streaks. The air had grown heavy and electric, humming against the rover's metal shell. We're almost out, Jace muttered, though he wasn't sure who he was reassuring, Serene or himself. Serene stirred weakly in his arms. She blinked up at him, her violet eyes dull and exhausted. Her voice came out in a dry whisper. Why help me? Jace hesitated. Most people wouldn't risk their lives for a stranger, especially not an alien child hunted by unknown forces. But something about her fear, her innocence, the way she flinched at every sound, made it impossible to walk away. Because no one deserves what they did to you, he said simply. Not human, not alien, no one. She watched him for a moment, studying his face as if trying to understand the shape of kindness. Then she leaned against his chest, too tired to speak again. The canyon walls began to widen, revealing the open desert. But before they could exit, the rover's navigation system beeped sharply. A warning. Jace glanced at the display. Underground energy signature detected. Movement below. His eyes widened. Below us. Now. Before he could steer away, the ground shuddered. A deep rumble vibrated through the rover. Serene jolted, clutching him tightly. The sand ahead of them cracked, splitting like a fragile shell. Something enormous moved beneath the surface. Jace hit the brakes. The rover skidded sideways, dust exploding around them. The ground swelled like a rising wave. Then, with a deafening roar, a massive metallic creature burst out of the earth. It wasn't alive, not truly. More machine than beast. Its body was made of interlocking metal plates, each one carved with alien symbols. Its head resembled a giant horned reptile, glowing with fiery orange eyes. Serene let out a terrified cry. The creature slammed back into the ground, burrowing toward them with terrifying speed. Jace grabbed Serene and leapt out of the rover just as the machine erupted through the earth beneath it, lifting the rover into the air and crushing it between its jaws like paper. Sparks burst. Metal shrieked. The rover exploded behind them. Jace shielded Serene from the blast, rolling across the sand. Heat washed over his back, but he didn't let go of her for a second. Jace, Serene whispered, shaking violently. They sent. Sentinel. He looked up, breathing hard. Sentinel? You know what this thing is. She nodded weakly. Guard, protector, hunter, all in one. They use it when they want something alive. Jace's stomach twisted. So it's here for you. Serene closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm sorry. No, he said firmly. Don't apologize. We're not done yet. The sand shook again as the sentinel circled beneath the surface like a shark in deep water. Every tremor told Jace exactly what it was doing, tracking her. He looked around quickly. They were exposed on open ground. No cover. No cliffs. No time. He lifted Serene in his arms. Hold on tight. She buried her face against his chest. Jace sprinted across the sand, muscles burning, breath tearing through his lungs. The sentinel erupted behind him, showering the air with debris. He dodged left. The machine dove again. He dodged right. The sand sprayed up like exploding waves where the creature just barely missed. Every second felt like borrowed time. Finally, Jace spotted something. An old maintenance hatch half buried under collapsed stone. Probably left over from pre-war mining tunnels. It was their only chance. He ran toward it, the sentinel rising once more behind him. He jumped. He threw all his weight onto the hatch. It snapped open. Darkness swallowed them as they fell inside. The sentinel smashed into the entrance a moment later, the impact shaking the entire tunnel. Dust rained down. Metal groaned. Jace landed hard, but he kept Serene safe in his arms. She clung to him, sobbing silently, her glow faint but steady. Above them, the sentinel roared in frustration. It clawed at the opening but couldn't fit inside. Not yet. Jace looked down the dark tunnel stretching ahead. He tightened his grip on her. We move, he whispered, before it finds another way in. And deep beneath the desert, with an unstoppable machine hunting them, their real escape had only just begun. The tunnel swallowed the light behind them as Jace carried Serene deeper into the underground maze. The air was cold and heavy, thick with dust that had not been disturbed in years. Their footsteps echoed softly, while the distant metallic growl of the sentinel shook loose small stones from the ceiling. Serene kept her face buried in Jace's shoulder, her tiny frame trembling with each rumble above. It can't fit down here, Jace whispered, though the tension in his voice betrayed his uncertainty. But it might find another way. The tunnel stretched endlessly, carved by old machines long abandoned after the border wars. Pipes ran along the walls, broken in places and leaking faint streams of glowing fluid that illuminated the darkness in eerie blue light. Jace set Serene down gently. Can you walk? She nodded weakly, leaning against the wall for balance. Her glow softened, warm but fragile. Jace, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Why did they send Sentinel? He looked at her carefully. Because you're important. More than you're telling me. Her breath shook as she looked down at her hands. I didn't want this. I never wanted the resonance. Resonance. Jace echoed. She hesitated, then slowly touched the center of her chest, where the silver light had burst out in the canyon. My people, some of us are born with a power. A connection to the energy of worlds. We can sense storms, machines, life, but only a few survive it. She looked away painfully. The others who had this, they didn't live long. Jace knelt in front of her. You're just a child. How can they expect you to control something like that? They don't want me to control it, she said quietly. They want to use it. Jace exhaled, anger rising in him like fire. So they turned you into a tool, a weapon. Serene didn't answer. She didn't need to. A faint metallic scraping echoed from behind them. Jace instantly pulled her close and extinguished the small lantern he had found along the way. Darkness wrapped around them like a thick blanket. Footsteps, but not the sentinel. These sounded lighter. Careful. Intelligent. Jace's muscles tightened. Stay behind me. From deeper in the tunnel, a red beam flickered, another drone. This one smaller, but scanning with precision. It passed its light across the walls, through old mining crates, and then toward their hiding place. Serene's small hand grabbed Jace's arm. The drone's sensor stopped inches from them. Jace held his breath. A sound echoed from far behind the drone. A deep metallic roar shook the tunnel. The sentinel. It was forcing its massive frame through another entrance, ripping stone apart. The drone turned away from Jace and Serene, distracted by the noise. Now, Jace seized the moment. He grabbed a loose chunk of metal pipe and hurled it down the tunnel. It clanged against the floor loudly. The drone spun instantly toward the sound. Serene understood. Run, she whispered. They sprinted deeper into the old shaft. Serene's glow lit their path in gentle pulses. The drone fired a burst of red tracking beams as it discovered the trick, but they were already too far ahead. And then the ground shifted beneath them. A metal grate gave way. Both of them fell. Jace twisted midair, pulling Serene to his chest to shield her as they landed with a painful thud. Dust filled the chamber. Instruments slumped on ancient tables. Crates lay cracked open. Old screens flickered weakly with half-dead power. It wasn't just a room. It was an old research lab. And it wasn't human. Serene sat up slowly, looking around with wide, frightened eyes. This place, it's from my people. Jace scanned the symbols on the walls. The same curved markings he had seen on the sentinel. Your people built this? He asked. They built everything down here, she whispered. They hit our kind, the ones with resonance. They wanted to understand the power. Her hands shook as she touched an old data pod. A hologram flickered alive. Images of young aliens like her, glowing, screaming, collapsing under energy they couldn't control. Serene's breath cracked. They called us Echo Children. Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. You're not an experiment anymore. You're free. Before she could speak, the ceiling above shuddered violently. Dust rained down. A massive crack split open, and a familiar growl filled the air. The sentinel had found them. Its glowing eyes peered through the opening, searching. Serene gasped and clung to Jace. It's not going to stop. No, Jace said, grabbing her hand firmly. But neither am I. He pulled her toward a secondary tunnel at the back of the lab. Behind them, the sentinel roared and began tearing the ceiling apart. The chase wasn't over. It was just beginning. The tunnel sloped downward, colder and darker with each step. Jace kept Serene close as the distant roar of the sentinel echoed behind them like thunder rolling through stone. Every impact shook dust from the ceiling. Pipes rattled. Old lights flickered weakly, as though remembering a time when this place was alive. Serene's footsteps were uneven, but she didn't let go of Jace's hand. Her glow was faint again, almost gone. We're close, Jace whispered, hoping it was true. He didn't know where the tunnel led. He didn't know how deep the maze went. But anything was better than standing still while a metal monster clawed its way toward them. Serene tugged his arm suddenly. Jace, stop. He stopped instantly, scanning the shadows. What is it? She pointed to the walls, covered now in smooth silver panels, almost like mirrors. Strange symbols pulsed faintly beneath the surface. The panels hummed softly, vibrating with a rhythm that felt alive. Serene stepped forward, trembling. This is a chamber of echoes. Jace frowned. What does that mean? It listens, she whispered. It feels the resonance inside us. It reacts. Before Jace could ask another question, the entire chamber brightened. Silver ripples moved across the walls like water. Serene gasped and stumbled back. Energy responded to her presence, pushing toward her, almost reaching for her. No, Serene whispered. Not again. Jace moved between her and the walls. Stay behind me. Serene shook her head. It reacts to me, not to you. But the Sentinel, it will sense this too. Right on cue, a booming crash echoed from somewhere behind them. The Sentinel had smashed through another barrier. It was closing in. Jace grabbed Serene's face gently, forcing her to look at him. Hey, you're not alone. You hear me. Tears gathered in her eyes. I don't want to hurt anyone. You won't, he said. Not as long as I'm here. Her lips trembled. Humans, you always try to fix what others fear. Jace let out a small breath. Yeah, that's kind of our thing. Suddenly, the silver panels began to shift, sliding open to reveal a central platform. A circular device rose slowly from the floor, glowing with the same silver energy as Serene's body. Serene's eyes widened in horror. It's a resonance cradle. Is that good or bad? Jace asked. For me, it could stabilize my energy. Or it could kill me. Her voice cracked. My people never finished the tests. Jace clenched his jaw. We're not using it then. Serene stepped back from him, shaking her head. If I don't stabilize, the Sentinel will capture me. They will force me to activate fully. And then, she swallowed. The energy won't stop. Jace froze. You mean it could hurt others? It could destroy everything around me. Her eyes filled with guilt. That's why they abandoned me. They didn't want to deal with the risk. Jace stared at her. This small being who carried something so heavy it crushed her childhood, her memories, even her hope. Listen to me, he said firmly. You're not a danger. You're not a weapon. You're a kid who needs help. Serene's eyes shimmered. You say that, but you don't know what happens when the resonance grows. A thunderous crash silenced them both. A hole burst open in the upper tunnel wall. Rocks and metal rained down. The Sentinel forced its head through the opening, its giant orange eyes scanning wildly, searching for its target. Serene screamed. Jace grabbed her hand. Move. They sprinted toward the back of the chamber. The Sentinel roared, tearing open the wall, forcing its enormous body through the narrow space. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. Every surface vibrated. The chamber reacted, silver walls glowing brighter, humming louder. The cradle pulsed violently, responding to Serene's fear. A surge of energy rippled through the room. Serene collapsed to her knees, clutching her chest. I can't stop it, it's too strong. Jace dropped beside her, pulling her close. Look at me. Stay with me. Stay here. No. Jace, it's coming. Her glow intensified. If it reaches me, everything will break. He wrapped both arms around her, holding her tightly. Then let it come. The Sentinel lunged. Jace didn't move. He didn't let go. For the first time, Serene felt something stronger than fear. Human defiance. Human determination. Human stubbornness that refused to bow, even to a monster of metal and fire. And something inside her resonance reacted, not with violence, but with clarity. A pulse of light surged outward, but controlled. Focused. It struck the Sentinel mid-charge. The machine staggered. For the first time, the unstoppable hunter hesitated. Serene gasped, shocked. Jace, I didn't hurt you. He smiled, breathless. Told you. I'm not going anywhere. The Sentinel recovered, growling, preparing to strike again. But Serene stood up. Not hiding. Not crying. Standing. Her glow intensified, but steady this time. I will not be your weapon, she whispered. And the chamber walls answered her with light. The next moment would change everything. The chamber shook as the Sentinel readied its final attack. Its metal claws dug into the floor, its orange eyes locked onto Serene like a predator preparing to strike. Sparks rained from its jaws. The ground trembled beneath its weight. But Serene did not move. She stood in the center of the chamber, silver light spreading slowly across her body. Not wild, not unstable, controlled, calm, like a sunrise pushing away the night. Jace watched her, breathless, for the first time since he met her. She didn't look afraid. She looked free. The Sentinel roared and charged. Serene closed her eyes. Her small hand lifted toward it, fingers trembling not from fear, but choice. A soft whisper escaped her lips. I am not yours. The chamber reacted instantly. Silver light burst from the walls, flowing toward her like streams of liquid stars. The resonance cradle glowed with brilliant white energy. Symbols carved on the metal hummed with ancient power, responding to her voice. Jace shielded his eyes as the entire room erupted with blinding radiance. A wave of energy shot outward, not explosive, not violent, but strong enough to make metal bend like cloth. The Sentinel hit the wave head-on. The impact sent shockwaves through the entire tunnel. The machine's armor lit up with cracks of orange energy, then fractured. The roar of the beast turned into a distorted screech as its systems overloaded. Serene stood unmoving, her glow steady. The wave wrapped around the Sentinel, lifting it off its feet, suspending it in the air like a puppet with cut strings. And then, silence. The machine collapsed onto the ground, its red sensors flickering, then dying completely. Serene swayed forward. Her glow dimmed. Her knees buckled. Jace caught her before she fell. Serene. He held her tightly. Stay with me. Hey, stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open weakly. Jace, did I hurt you? No, he whispered. You saved us. She managed a small smile. But her body felt cold. Too cold. Jace's heart twisted. What's happening? She raised a trembling hand and touched her chest. Resonance uses too much energy. I don't have enough to stay awake. Maybe not enough to live. Jace shook his head violently. No. Serene, don't say that. I'm tired, she whispered. Her glow flickered like a candle fighting its last breath. No. Listen to me. Jace lifted her face to make her see him. You're not dying. Not now. Not here. She tried to smile. Humans are so stubborn. And you haven't seen anything yet. Jace pulled her into his arms and kicked open a maintenance door at the side of the chamber. We're getting out of here. You hear me? I'm taking you somewhere safe. She didn't respond, just closed her eyes, trusting him completely. Jace moved quickly through the exit tunnel, carrying her with one arm while using the other to guide them through the dark. Pipes hissed. Old lights flickered. The air grew warmer as they ascended. Minutes passed, longer, heavier. Finally, he found a ladder leading to a rusted hatch. He climbed it with Serene in one arm. His muscles screamed, but he refused to stop. He shoved the hatch open. Bright daylight exploded into the tunnel. He pulled her through. They emerged on the surface, far from the canyon, far from the crushed rover. The desert stretched endlessly in front of them, painted gold by the rising sun. Serene opened her eyes slowly. Light, she whispered. It's pretty. Jace looked at her pale face, brushed her hair away gently. Stay with me, Serene. Please. She swallowed softly. Can I stay with you? Not as a weapon, not as Echo Child, just stay. Jace's voice cracked. Yeah, of course. As long as you want. Her small fingers gripped his shirt. Thank you for choosing me. He held her close as the wind moved around them, warm and soft. She wasn't glowing anymore. But her heartbeat, though faint, was real, alive, and that was enough. Far in the distance, a faint blue spark appeared in the sky, ships approaching. Not hunters. Rescue ships responding to the Sentinel's shutdown signal. And they weren't Vertaxian. They were human. Jace exhaled slowly. Help is coming. Serene leaned into him, exhausted but safe. The nightmare was over. But their story was not. Not even close. As the first rescue craft descended, Serene whispered one final sentence before sleep finally overtook her. Jace, promise, don't leave me. He held her tighter. I'm not going anywhere. And under the new morning light, with a child of stars resting in his arms and the desert winds settling into calm, a new chapter for both of them quietly began.